Hello, Internet. Mike Byrne here from MMOBomb.com, and on today's MMO Thoughts, we'll be talking about mice. Specifically, we'll talk about what mouse I've been using for years, get your take on what mouse you use and why, and we'll be reviewing the new Razer Naga Pro. Now, right off the top of the show here, while this video is in no way sponsored by Razer, I do want to call out that the Naga Pro we'll be using today was supplied by Razer. However, they were warned that supplying us with the mouse would in no way protect them from any criticism I may have about the product. So yeah, freebies don't get you a free ride here. Personally, I've been using various mice from the Razer Naga line for years. From the original wired version all the way up to my current mouse, which is the Razer Naga Epic Chroma. I've always loved the MMO style panel on the side since I first started using Nagas all those years ago. Now, these days, it is getting hard to find a Naga Epic Chroma, even on the secondary market, and when you do, it's usually refurbished and still trending about $125 or so. With the new Razer Naga Pro that we're looking at today, Razer has brought features from a number of their product lines together in one package, and in some ways, this is great. But in other ways, I do have a few gripes. But first, let's get the specs and other details here out of the way. In the box, you receive the mouse, 3 side panels, a braided USB charging and connection cable, a wireless USB dongle, a separate USB dongle that can be used to extend the reach of the wireless dongle, and instructions. Now, the package, priced at $149.99 USD, the new Naga Pro sports 3 interchangeable side panels, much in the same way that the previous Naga Trinity line of mice did. There's a panel with 12 buttons that Razer refers to as their MMO panel, an FPS panel featuring a 2-button format, and a newly redesigned MOBA Battle Royale 6-button panel in a 2-row configuration, which is a bit of a change from Razer's previous 7-button circular panel on the Naga Hex MOBA mouse. These panels swap on and off with ease, even when done with one hand, but the magnets keeping them in place once connected are strong enough that in my testing so far, there was never a danger of the panel coming loose during use. They come off easy, but you have to want them to come off, is a great way to put it. Utilizing the Razer Hyperspeed wireless technology found in other Razer products, the Naga Pro can be hooked up in 3 different ways. An included 2.4 GHz wireless adapter can be connected to your PC's USB port, and the mouse will have about 100 hours of battery life using that method. Alternatively, the mouse can connect to your PC via a Bluetooth connection, which will boost the battery life to a whopping 150 hours. For those concerned with wireless latency, and let me interject that there is next to none here, you of course always have the option to keep the mouse connected via the supplied USB cable. What is not included here, though, is a charging dock of any kind, and while the Naga Pro is compatible with the charging docks used by the Razer Viper Ultimate or the Razer Basilisk Ultimate, it does not work with the charging dock that came packaged with the Razer Naga Epic Chroma. So I'm shit out of luck there, but maybe you aren't. While I know the charging cable is included, so I shouldn't see this as much of an issue, I do think it impacts things a bit on the cosmetic side of your desk when a mouse just sits there lazily tethered to your PC instead of standing upright and proud in a charging dock, but I realized maybe that's just me. From a numbers standpoint, the Naga Pro does boast some serious specs, clocking in with a 20,000 DPI optical sensor over the Naga Chrome's paltry 8,200 DPI. The precision with the Naga Pro is very damn good. Now, admittedly, most users won't notice a difference on this front, but at the pro gaming level, this smooth as butter recognition of motion will certainly be a benefit. The buttons on the mouse are using Razer's optical mouse switches to eliminate corrosion of normal mechanical switches, thus improving the mouse's click rating to over 70 million clicks. Now, obviously, we'll have to take Razer's word on that for now, since I didn't click the damn thing 70 million times this week. But having upgraded to the Epic Chroma, because my original Naga mouse started double left clicking and recently having my Epic Chroma scroll wheel start to go out on me, I hope the optical switches do exactly what Razer's claims they do and extends the life of the mouse a bit. Now, don't get me wrong, my Naga and Epic Chroma lasted for a very long time, so I'm not complaining about their lifespan here. But I did want to point out that this exact feature could potentially address the only real issue I ever had with either Razer mouse that I used previously. Other features of note, but by no means is this a complete feature list, are the smart tracking that the mouse uses to basically self-calibrate on any surface automatically, which made startup a breeze. And manual calibration through Razer Synapse is still available. And the improved motion sync, which tracks the mouse's movement more accurately when communicating to your PC, is a nice feature as well. Finally, in a final neat touch, the Razer Naga Pro can store up to 5 preset profiles on the actual mouse itself, meaning that if you slap together a few profiles for various games and for some reason just take the mouse to a friend's house, you can use a profile button on the bottom side of the mouse to cycle through those 5 preset profiles you created without needing to store any software on your friend's PC, although cloud storage of profiles is still possible. Rounding out the feature set here is, of course, the Chroma RGB lighting on the mouse, which, unlike the Epic Chroma, includes the actual Razer logo lighting up. These lights can be customized using the Razer Synapse software, where you can tweak color, pattern, brightness, and when the lighting should switch off if desired, or even warn you of a low battery. The Naga Pro continues the Razer tradition of having almost every key on the damn thing, besides left click, being fully customizable inside Razer Synapse. Even the previously mentioned profile button on the bottom of the mouse can be reconfigured if you wish, and I just imagine in my head some pro gamer out there landing a final blow on camera by actually picking up their mouse, turning it over, and slapping that profile button. But hey, I can dream. The usual list of macro, power options, and other user preferences is also available in Razer Synapse. Now, form factor here is very similar to all previous versions of the Naga mouse, but after just a few uses, I could swear that the Naga Pro was a tad smaller than the Naga Epic Chroma, and it turns out I was right. While the height and width of the Naga Pro is the same as the previous versions, the Naga Pro is about 2 millimeters shorter from front to back than its predecessors, and I thought that was really funny how tuned your muscle memory can get. The Naga Pro also feels just a shade lighter than the Naga Epic Chroma, and I didn't weigh them both, but I did ask a number of people to hold both and tell me which was heavier, and they all agreed that the Naga Pro was the slightly lighter mouse. The mouse feet have been adjusted a bit compared to the Epic Chroma 2. There's 4 instead of 3, but this is probably due to making the mouse compatible with a charging dock more than any real functional difference. However, the material for the mouse feet has been changed a bit and glides across surfaces with far less pressure than some previous Naga versions. But this has also led to a little bit of a learning curve adjustment that I have to make, and you may too. See, the Naga Pro being slightly lighter and easier to move means I tend to grip it just a little too hard based on how I used my previous Naga mouse. This has, on many occasions, resulted in me actually clicking the number 4 key on the MMO panel on accident, so I'll have to adjust to a bit more deft touch if I keep using this mouse. Speaking of the side buttons, the angling on the side keys is very well done and keeping in line with previous Naga models, and it makes it very easy to know where your thumb is on the keypad by touch alone after just a few uses in-game. On this topic, the 2 buttons below the scroll wheel have seen an update over the Epic Chroma as well. On the Naga Pro, they're slightly recessed versus the Epic Chroma's raised buttons, and while I never had a problem with accidentally triggering the Epic Chroma's keys below the mouse wheel, I do like this recession of these keys. It gets them out of the way for comfort, but doesn't make them any harder to trigger when needed, in my opinion. The scroll wheel itself feels like it has a little more pushback than the previous Epic Chroma, and to me that's a good thing. The side click functionality of the scroll wheel also feels solid and isn't accidentally triggered. Overall, the materials making up the mouse itself seem to be slightly different as well. Now, coloring and form may be the same, but maybe it's just the finish that seems to be done differently. Keep in mind, though, that this could just be the result of the mouse being brand new versus a well-worn-in Naga Epic Chroma, so take this tidbit with a grain of salt. Putting all of this together, I have some mixed thoughts on the Naga Pro. For one, the design changes to the MOBA panel and the recessed buttons below the scroll wheel are certainly improvements in my book. The sturdiness of the mouse overall may be a bit on the light side, and while I can see this being done to increase speed and accuracy, which it does make me a little nervous to see what would happen if in a heated match this mouse took a barrel roll off of my desktop. The ease of use with Synapse for macros, customization of buttons, color control, and all those other features is still easy to use and follows in the long line of Naga products in that way. When you get right down to it, swapping panels on the mouse is awesome. It does take a bit of getting used to if you're like me and basically use the MMO pad for everything over the years because you never use the Naga Hex or Trinity, but the form factor makes it incredibly easy to adjust to. It's a solid, well-designed mouse for almost any gaming occasion, and taking profiles on the go is a handy touch, even if it's one that many people probably won't use. Now, the price is my biggest stumbling block on this being a 100% solid recommend, though. While Razer products aren't cheap to begin with and usually have a high degree of quality, this mouse feels a bit more delicate than previous models, and I'm certainly not going to test drop it for the sake of this review. Not coming with a charging dock is also a negative in my book. I get it, the side panels add to the cost, but seeing as the Naga Trinity wired version can be found on Amazon for about $75 USD right now, and the Razer Basilisk Ultimate comes in at about $150 with the charger, I feel like a docking station should have been included here. Again, this doesn't impact performance though, it's mainly a cosmetic gripe on my part, so maybe you don't care about this. The fact that it didn't sit in my Chroma dock though was a real disappointment upon unboxing. Now, can other mice do what the Naga Pro does? Of course, but it may be in the form of actually swapping mice if you're super particular about your button layout for certain games. The Naga Pro, despite a higher price tag than I would have liked and some doubts about overall durability, does check in as a pretty solid successor to my Epic Chroma, and I will be switching to the Naga Pro for my own use. But I may have been hard-pressed to pick it up myself at the $150 price point. Had Razer thrown in a charger for that price, or set the price point without a charger to say $130 though, I would make the leap to the Naga Pro without any hesitation. So what do you think? Is the Naga Pro worth the cash, or do you have some other gaming mouse I should consider changing to? Let me know about your thoughts and your favorite pieces of gaming gear in the comments below, and you just might see them in a future episode of MMO Thoughts. Until then, I'm Mike Byrne from MMOBomb.com telling you to stay safe, and I'll see you on the servers.